Hey, hey, friends and revolutionaries, it's that time again. Time to take a look at this month's Masters of the Universe Classics figures. This month we got two, there we go, two figures, the Faceless one and the Battleground Teela. Not the Ultimate Battleground Teela, because I've got my theories on that one, but the Battleground Teela. Battleground Teela, Masters of the Universe Classic Series, for adult collectors, brought to us by Mattel. Inside we will get, or we should expect to get, one figure with accessories, and there's our girl. The Battleground Teela. What makes her Battleground? Well, she's the heroic heir to the sorceress, apparently, and I think it's important to say that. Heroic heir to the sorceress, not the goddess. I don't know if there'll be a Minicon this month, because this Teela in this outfit never showed up in the Minicons. There was a blonde Teela, particularly in the early Minicoms, which you can kind of consider the early history of the Masters of the Universe. But she was the duplicated daughter of the goddess, not the sorceress. But she was blonde, so, you know, I'm hoping they just got mixed up. I will forgive them if they would just say that one is one and one is the other, and they're not actually the same person. If you got it mixed up a little bit, that's fine. But yeah, to sit there and say that this is the sorceress's daughter when she's blonde, when the red-headed Teela is the goddess's daughter, I'm going to start to have some problems. I'm going to have some problems. But yeah, taking a look at the packaging, of course she's got the lightning bolts on the side, has the dimple on the front, the Masters of the Universe Classic logo, and then of course the very familiar brickwork. Air holes are on the right hand side, which is a little bit different because they've been on the left lately, something probably I would only make a point of mentioning. On the back with the other figures, one thing I noticed is that usually when you get a figure, of course this is where they would be featured, almost center on the card, almost, but they would be surrounded by other figures or other characters that would be from kind of the same time frame. For instance, you know, we'd see, if we saw King Grayskull, we would see like Hero and Hordak about that same time. Here we have the Battleground Teela surrounded by He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Chief Carnivus, Zodak with a K, and Evelyn, meaning that she's kind of in the more present day He-Man, but not really, because on her bio, which really doesn't help, it says that after being wounded by King Hiss's venom, the Sorceress of Grayskull, the Sorceress, knew her time was short. She quickly arranged a mission with Teela to the Elders Training Citadel on the polar ice cap. Here the Sorceress revealed that Teela's true heritage, that she was secretly her magical clone daughter and destined to become the next guardian of Castle Grayskull and its secrets. Okay, that's fine. But although in a state of disbelief, Teela knew in her heart that her mother spoke the truth and trained with the Sorceress until the venom at last overtook her. So basically the Sorceress died. That then puts this Teela, a blonde Teela, she returned to Castle Grayskull as its new guardian. Teela uses her new magic, protect power of Grayskull, and guard the safety of all Eternia. So the blonde Teela, which was from the early Minicom history, is going to be a future sorceress or Teela from the red-haired one that is more associated with He-Man and Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms. Something isn't jiving here, guys. I really want to think that she is the goddess's daughter, possibly later became the sorceress, and then had a clone daughter of the red-haired Teela that would come later. I really want to think that's the order that it happened, and in fact, they just kind of got the wrong figure packaged the wrong way around. I really think that's the only way I can make this work, because otherwise she is the only character that is now being set in a future past He-Man, Prince Adam, and the others. Anyway, that's enough of that. Enough ranting. Let's go ahead and get her out of the pack, have some fun. Be right back. Okay, you called my bluff. Of course we're going to take a look at a Minicon this month. It's in the Minicoms that we first got a blonde Teela. Particularly in the early Minicoms that were more like mini storybooks than actual comic books. Single panel pages showing a bit of the action that was described in the story below. In those Minicoms, anything that would have Teela in it would have her anywhere from her blonde, orange, or even her traditional red hair. Even after the actual mini-comics began to appear, they still featured the blonde-haired Teela in many issues. For our purposes, any of these mini-comics would do just fine, just to show what the blonde-haired Teela looked like and what she did in the comic. But because the bio on the back of the card wants to talk about her origin, we're going to go ahead and get a look at her original origin, the tale of Teela. Now, it's been told in many different ways, both in the cartoons and on the back of that card, but I want you to forget about everything you know, because not only is this the best story of Teela, but it's one of the best Minicom stories, period. The story opens with the specter of Skeletor haunting over the bed of Teela as she sleeps. His evil magic fills her dreams with fuzzy memories of her origin, and as she awakens, her mother. Teela decides to follow the voice to its origin and hopefully find a meaning to her strange dream. She takes the Battleground until she comes across the mysterious outpost known as Point Dread, on which rests the Talon Fighter. Now, we all remember Point Dread and the Talon Fighter, right? Right? Actually, Point Dread and the Talon Fighter were actually accessories to go with the Castle Grayskull playset. Even had its own Minicom story, as a matter of fact. Might get to it at some point. Unfortunately for Teela, as she approaches the outpost, all she finds is an ambush of Beastman, Merman, Triclops, and Trapjaw waiting for her. She lives up to her title as a warrior woman and manages to hold them off for a while, but with the odds of 4 against 1, well, okay, 3 against 1, Trapjaw manages to stay in the back and not get too involved. She finally does get overcome and captured and get brought to Skeletor. Once safely tied, Trapjaw feels comfortable enough to escort Teela inside to the awaiting Skeletor. From here, Skeletor gives us all the details to the events that led up to this point. As it happens, Point Dread only appears on Eternia once every 20 years, and this also happens to coincide with Teela's 20th birthday. The reason is that the last time Point Dread appeared, Skeletor used its power with his own to capture the goddess and create an infant child copy of her. Skeletor's plan was to raise this copy as his own so that one day she would allow him to enter Castle Grayskull. It's what you might call one of his long-term plots. Man-at-Arms arrives to rescue the goddess, forcing Skeletor to abandon his plans and escape. The goddess takes the child, but realizes her own duties will make her unable to raise the child herself. She asks Man-at-Arms to bring her up, in which Man-at-Arms accepts with honor, even saying that he will name her after the goddess Teela. So, for any of you who tried to wonder why Teela came both as Teela and as the goddess with the snake armor, it's because they are one and the same person. At least, that's how it started. Skeletor explains with the return of Point Dread and Teela his captive, he's now able to pick up his plans where he left off. Meanwhile, something I don't get to say nearly as often as I like, He-Man and Man-at-Arms are considering the missing Teela. He-Man says that Teela's been well trained by her father and can take care of herself. That is until he realizes the Battleground is missing. All of a sudden, that creates a crisis. Typical male world, Teela's missing, could have been kidnapped, who knows what's going on to her. Yeah, that's fine, but the car's missing. Something's got to be done. Calling up his other two poker buddies, Ram Man and Stratos, He-Man and the other boys are ready to take a road trip to follow Teela's tracks. Man-at-Arms says he's going to stay behind to follow a different path. Once they're gone, the goddess arrives to take them to Point Dread, where the day of the inevitable face-off with Skeletor has arrived. Don't pay too much attention to this. This is just mid-Minicom advertising they used to throw in. Thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing it. Following the path of the Battleground, He-Man and the rest of the bowling team end up at Point Dread, just like Teela. They also end up in an ambush, just like Teela. Despite the fact the odds are a little more even this time, they fail to stop Skeletor from taking the Talon Fighter with Teela as his prisoner, giving Stratos a good whammy in the face on the way. Skeletor's henchmen don't last long, but they do buy enough time for him to make it to Castle Grayskull. With Teela as his prisoner, he's about to enter the castle when suddenly the bad penny known as Man-at-Arms and the goddess arrive. Though he may seem outnumbered at first, Skeletor announces that his power over Teela includes having her fight at his side. She immediately lashes out at the goddess, leaving Man-at-Arms to take on Skeletor.
As a mindless pawn, Teela's attacks are merciless. The goddess realizes there's only one thing she can do to save them both. She lunges at Teela as a green aura envelops them both, and we see Skeletor with the upper hand over Man-at-Arms. But before he's able to make the final strike, we see a blonde-haired goddess restore it for the first time fully in both body and power and expel Skeletor from Castle Grayskull. Man-at-Arms and the goddess return to the other heroic warriors, and He-Man's happy to see they're safe, but wants to know what happened to Teela. The green goddess, again glowing in her green aura, separates herself from Teela and admits, though it felt glorious to be complete once again, after 20 years Teela has developed her own life and she would never deprive her of that. The goddess sends the Talon Fighter and Point Dread to a tower of Castle Grayskull, where Skeletor can never use it again. The heroic warriors begin to head home, happy in their victory, and only He-Man is left wondering whether Teela will always be herself, or if in fact a time may come where she will again have to merge with the goddess, possibly forever.
Alright, hope you enjoyed it. Of course, there was going to be something this month, of course. But, yeah, getting a look at the figure now, you know, from the time I heard she was going to be released, and from the time I saw how she was going to look, you know, even up until the time, I was unpacking her from the box. All the way up until the time that I actually was able to get her open, I was basically just considering this Teela to be a spare head. It was a $20 spare head so that I could get my Minicon version of Teela. But now that I actually get a chance to take a look at her and see her out of the pack, you know, I really have to say I'm sorry I didn't make a greater effort to get a spare one of these, to get a spare Teela. Because I think this one looks awesome. I think she looks just fantastic. No, this is not the Minicon Teela, and yes, I'll probably still pop her head off to swap out, but at some point, I do want to get another one of her just to keep as she is. As a matter of fact, I may keep her as she is until I get a chance to get another one, because this is just so nice. She's very much more in the feel of one of the Masters of the Universe male figures, in the sense that, you know, she's got the shaggy shorts, she's got the same kind of belt that the guys do, she's got the midriff showing, which I'm all for that, and she even has kind of the plastic armor on, you know, which, as a credit to good taste, you know, doesn't come off. So, good taste wins out, thank goodness. But yeah, she looks really, really nice. She fits more, I think, with He-Man and Man-at-Arms and Battle-Cat, kind of that kind of barbarian Conan kind of feel, Vicor kind of feel. And though, again, I do want to swap out her head with Teela, with the original Teela, I really do have to say that this is a figure that I'm going to either keep with her head on most of the time, or as soon as I have a chance, maybe eBay if I can find it at a good price, get a spare one. Because I want this one for display as she is. She looks just awesome. I do also wish now I actually had found the comic she was from, because looking at her paint job, it looks great. It's the same Teela boots, matter of fact, the same Teela legs. The difference being that, well, even the same Teela arms, including the wristbands and her and on the forearm. But the colors look great. I love the gold and the brown. Fits so well with kind of the darker brown, darker blonde hair. Her brass top, you know, kind of her Xena top, looks good. Looks great. You know, there is, of course, some articulation sacrificed for the figure, but being that she doesn't wear kind of an outer body covering, she doesn't quite look as hefty as some of the other female figures do. So I totally dig this figure. This is a very, very nice figure. Her head, it is a little wobbly, wibbly wobbly, but not terribly, and it does turn. There is clearance inside or underneath the hair, for reasons you'll see here in a minute. But there's a twist at the waist, no crunch. So underneath the female bodies, there's no crunch. The arms come up, out, twist the bicep, elbow, and wrist. The leg has no twist at the top. Whereas the male figures have a twist up here at the top of the thigh, this one only comes up and out. There's the bend at the knee, twist of the boot, and on the foot with a swivel. But good tight joints, no loose joints anywhere, nothing on the foot especially. So really, really good. Her two accessories are rather forgettable. She comes with this rather goofy, oversized hair dryer blaster, which is a little warped on the front. You know, I don't know if I'll ever pose her with it. That's probably going to just fall in the box of accessories. Really does look like a hair dryer to me. And her sword, which is a fairly generic kind of sword. I like it better than the one the original Teela did. The original Teela sword was a little too detailed, it was a little too overboard, a little 2002 if you don't mind me saying so. And even if you do, I've said it. Does fit in her hand like so. Just like so. Or, if you want to pop it out, there's not like an actual place like on He-Man or Skeletor for it to fit, but you can slide it in the back of her armor here and have her wear it like such. So you can actually keep her with all her accessories if you wanted to. So very, very nice. I mean, I really do like this figure. Again, I wasn't expecting that I was going to really care all that much for her. I figured I'd pop her head off, maybe pop on another head, maybe the Sparadora head that I had, pop that on, and then just leave her in the back as the blonde Teela and hope no one looked too close. But really, if I keep her like this, or if I get another one, she's definitely going to be getting moved to the front of, or one closer to the front of the row, because she actually looks fantastic. If we bring in the other Teela, just to kind of give you a look, you can tell they even look like they made a bit of an effort to keep the faces the same. In case these were supposed to be the same Teelas, I'm hoping not. But if we do take the head off of this one, like so, and take the head off of this one, I mentioned that the hair on this Teela does have a bit of a clearance on it, and that's to allow the higher collar from the original Teela. And yeah, I think this pretty much makes up my mind. She's staying like this. This is my Teela. I am too big a Minicon fan to switch it back. This is just going to... This is... Wow. That looks great. I so wish I would have bought an extra one of her, because she does look good with this head on that body. I somehow doubt putting this head on will do as well. Well, looks better on camera, but yeah, I may have to run down that old Adora head, the spare Adora head I have after all, because this is fat. This is just too good. This is too nice. I suspect, and a lot of people have been kind of, moaning about it, that because She-Ra is getting packaged in with Supergirl, that in fact Teela should have been there or Wonder Woman should have been with She-Ra. That didn't make any sense to me. I thought that yes, Supergirl being Superman's cousin, She-Ra being He-Man's sister, those two would have to get packaged together. But there will be, I don't doubt, there will be a Teela packaged with Wonder Woman, the Warrior Women. And what we may get is either this Teela right here, which would be sweet. I would love to see this one complete. Or we may see this head repainted back on this body. A blonde haired Teela like this on that body. We'll have to see, but for right now, yeah, I am definitely keeping my Teela in her Minicom style. That is just so nice. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.